The night of serious conversation. This is Politics Tonight. Thank you for joining us. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Tonight, Southwest governors back President Bola Tinubu as they announce a new regional security measures to tackle the rising security challenge in the region. Our guest tonight is the President, Yoruba Council Worldwide, and Nigeria Coalition Group, Ariel Ladotun Hazen. Welcome to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Now to developments from the Southwest region. Governors from the zone have reaffirmed their support for President Bola Tinubu and have jointly announced new regional security measures aimed at strengthening safety and cooperation across their states. The move comes amid ongoing conversations about security reforms and coordinated responses to emerging threats. And to help us unpack the implications of these new measures and what they mean for residents in the region, and if indeed the Southwest governors have gone beyond meetings upon meetings to actualizing some of their own recommendations. Ariel Ladotun Hazen, President, Yoruba Council Worldwide, is also Nigeria Coalition Group, is with me in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Right, so we have another meeting. The Southwest governors have had another meeting, and like I said, this is not the first of its kind. In the past, especially after Akiti passed, we've only seen them come together without any concrete takeaway from that meeting, and that's my own personal view. So especially when it comes to security matters, they have met severally without implementing their own recommendations or takeaways from those meetings. What do you think is different this time?
Well, the difference is the fact that there is effective actualization of walking the talk and ensuring deliverables are met. And this is not just the fact that they are just starting. This is not their starting line. They've already started. They just needed to consolidate. Because if you see the Southwest today, we have a well-structured local security network, which is the Amotekun. We have all other forest guard, we have the OPC, we have other, Southwest have been
the OPC is still functioning.
Yes, every of these organizations are well functional. And that's why you can see the amount of threats that is reoccurring within the Southwest region. It's not been as that hot base, as a hotbed for criminality as it used to be sometimes around 2018, 2020. Because during that 2020-2018, there is this threat of incursion, of invasion of the Fulani terrorists, and that led us under the Yoruba Council Worldwide, we were able to propose to the then governor of Ondo State, late Rotimi Akeredolu. We are the one that presented that idea that formed the Amotekun. We presented the Southwestern Regional Security Network, and which we've even now expanded to a national joint security network, because we believe security is core value, especially now that the whole nation is bleeding when it comes to issue of hyper security attacks from Niger State to Kebbi to every other region, even to Kwara. And we cannot say that these are not just well conscripted security attacks. And this is just a means, because if you look at the rhetorics from the point of when U.S. declared Nigeria as a country of particular concern, and the threat, the concern of the President of the United States, President Donald Trump, to bring in security to ensure that they keep the ground with the boots, and which the President advised that it's more better to work on synergic plan, and which you can see that the U.S. has effectively done that by ensuring to work closely with our military to ensure that the terrorists are wiped out. And to me, the terrorists only intensify in order to provoke the military and try to create some semblance of euphoria, because we can see from the trend. But be that as it may, we must commend the governor of Lagos State and the Southwestern governors for being proactive. But where it matters most is that where we are now, it's an emergency intensive care unit. They need to be more aggressive. Lagos need to equally push more harder. And there's a need for that collaboration between the federal, because with all this structure of defense, if the Federal Ministry of Defense is not involved, it will just be like a part in the bar, because we initially had that issue under Buhari when Akeredolu was pushing for Amotekun. The very first bridge of to cross was the Federal Ministry of Justice that said, "Oh, Amotekun cannot carry some certain weapons." But now it is very critical that they need to go for more training. There is a need for them to intensify collaboration.
So I was going to go there.
Yes.
Because, clearly, Aketi championed the Amotekun initiative, and that was why we saw the kind of energy and the kind of vigor that came with the existence of that initiative. And it looks like since he died, that strength, that vigor is no longer there. And that meeting came up because of a lot of reasons: infrastructure, state police, and most especially the need to ensure action taken against the influx of bandits and other criminal elements from other regions. Do you think this set of Southwest governors have what it takes? Is the political will there? If you were advising the joint session, how would you advise that they go about it?
Well, what I expect out of that meeting is for them to set up an action team, to be that, okay, these are our security advisors, and they are already kickstarting some certain set lines of agenda. In the next 1 month, this is what we are doing. This is how much each state are dropping into the trust fund. Because this trust fund of an idea, which was one of, because I tried to put 1 or 2 things to your anchor then to let you know that we proposed all these things ahead of since 2020, that the trust fund is very key in strengthening local security network. Firstly, the recruitment. The measure of recruitment needs to be done because we are now dealing with local security. And in dealing with local security, there is more of ensuring that we bridge the traditional institution in it, ensuring carrying the local, the traditional institution, the urbans, the ballets, ensuring that those that are coming into this network, there's a proper background check on them, ensuring that even if you are giving them arms, they'll be well trained to manage it properly, and there will be more synergy with existing security institutions like the police, NSCDC, the DSS, to ensuring that this synergy, we can now say, okay, with this synergy, we already have 10 million security structure of men on ground.
So that's what the National Joint Regional Security Network Agency bill
because if we have that now, like the crisis happening in the north.
How is that different from Amotekun?
Yeah, no, we need to advance, because our own thinking is that we are all one as a country. If anything is happening in Kwara State, all our amalgam of security guys from the OPC, from the forest guards, from the Amotekun, needs to synergize and move to that black spot. Ensure that they clear that area so that there will not be incursion, because the more you leave those space and flanks open, we have a porous open borders across from the south, from the north, from everywhere. So, but in as much as if this can come together, if the Southwest can get their house together, other regions too try to merge their house together, then there's a need to merge together, because criminals don't have boundaries. It's only in the DPU that the DPU cannot operate in another location, but criminals move straight line. So if there's no straight line of operation and there's no coordination, one centralized coordination, and that's why we've advised the government, take data of those that are coming, don't make it political. Don't bring in party faithfuls into security. That security is a very exclusive area. Bring in those that have interest, that already have socio-cultural organizations, that have interest in security. We have local hunters that are part of security. We have the forest guard that are now coming on board. You have the Amotekun, we have the Oyabo. We have several security apparatus, even local. You can see in Taraba, every governors are recruiting. But where it comes now is the arms. There is a need for them to be well fortified with well sophisticated arms. Don't go see that because they are Amotekun, they will give them pump action, while the terrorists are using AK-47. So you need to train them properly to use proper arms. Maybe the government needs to just up their game, ensure that the recruitment, the payment, the remuneration are properly gauged, so that you don't just put people on the premise of go and die. No, there must be proper engagement. There must be vehicular structure equipment. There must be torchlight, there must be bicycle, there must be motorbike, fueling, all this in daily remuneration, daily interest.
I'm sure you know there are challenges, several challenges with maintaining and sustaining Amotekun. So if there are challenges with maintaining or sustaining this single security network, how do you think these challenges will be managed when it becomes regional?
If the will is there, there's nothing impossible.
If there is no will,
but now there is will, because now the pressure is on there.
If there is no will, if there is no political will with sustaining Amotekun, OPC and the likes, how do you think the will, where would the will come from when it becomes regional? I'm
very confident in Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. I think his commitment can be felt in his tone and his voice now. Where I just want him to do more is to make sure that Lagos take the lead. Lagos has the capacity with the Lagos State Security Trust Fund we have already. All Lagos need to do is just to just put that pipe of security trust fund in the Southwest Security Network, ensuring that they are also part of Amotekun, because Lagos have not been part of Amotekun. So then this Amotekun itself, there's the need for them to centralize. They are more within their local state. All the Amotekun commanders have not been seeing that synergy amongst them. So when we are advising
there's also the issue of funding.
No, there is funding. It's not that they've not been getting funding. They pay them salaries. What I'm telling the government is that beyond this Amotekun, there are existing security structures that the government must harness, which are more intelligent, which also have more capacity. So the government is only looking, if the government is treating Amotekun just like their own child, and they're leaving all other important child outside, like OPC, the other structure of various security that I've mentioned. Oh yeah, but I'm looking at Southwest now.
Yes.
Because within the North, we have the civilian JTF. Unlike the ways the civilian JTF were taken up, it was a point of necessity that they converted the hunters and some youth into civilian JTF, empowering them with sophisticated weapons. But unfortunately, what's there is that there's no proper background check. So everybody is just finding their way into all this security structure without proper details. So let there be proper details now. Let DSS, NSCDC engage this structure. If they are going to call all the local, anybody interested voluntarily, through the ballots, through the kings, let there be proper nomination of people well identified within various communities. From each local government, we can get as much as 1 million committed youths who believe that yes, they are ready to protect. Yes, I tell you.
Exaggerating.
I'm not exaggerating. We have the population. We are talking about over 200 million population, and our military as at date do not have capacity to cover those. That's why Mr. President just approved 30,000 to be recruited into the police force, which is not even enough. So if the president needs to see beyond this measure of the police recruitment, we have larger voluntary organizations. We have Yoruba Council worldwide. We equally have various organizations that are also interested in security protection. So
if we're looking at National Joint Regional Security Network Agency, how do you think the challenge of conflict of jurisdiction will be resolved?
Yeah, it's to be seamless, because the number one pivot that brings to their mind is end terrorism. If it is the core interest, especially now that the terrorists are fiercely believing that there is nothing to tame them, I can bet you an handful of OPC, giving them the mandate to move into the north, they will support the civilian JTF to end the terrorism from the north, because nothing stops the people within the south to join hands with the people in the north to end this terrorism. But the fact that all men be for themselves, everybody for themselves, have left us to this whole chaos. But if with this that you have just asked, this will end, there will not be any jurisdictional conflict. There will be seamless, because with that National Joint Security Network we talked about, it needs to be under the civil defense, because civil defense is more of military, police, and paramilitary. There's a way their training seems to be similar. Even that's why there is a need that they've zoned them to be handling more of local security and intelligence. But with that structure, that is the structure the government needs to really give that mandate to ensure training. Because if the government do not say, go in the next 3 months to ensure that even the Amotekun, there is no proper detailed training. When I mean training of some set going to use some countries to go and learn some sophisticated measures in terms of IT, drone operations.
These are parts of the challenges.
These are very, we can do it. There must be structure, not just those people going on physical combat. There should be intelligence units.
Some say it's because the government
there must be legal units. There must be legal unit. There must be intelligence unit, operations. There must be conflict resolution. There must be those that manage different areas. So government needs to bring in all the fabrics of resources to ensure what we need to do. We have the money. So the scale of funding it is not my fear. The major thing is the commitment, the aggressive requirement. I can see from the word of Ariel Okankanfo, it raises fears. That is high time we leave this kid's glove for treating Boko Haram, giving him authorization. He doesn't need the authorization. If this institution is well structured, organizations like that ought to have been given money, resources, equipment, vests, body cameras, things that will aid them to work effectively. And what is now going to be is that all of them must be on a centralized data. There must be everyone wanting to carry arms. There must be proper background check. That's where my concerns are. So that we don't go in the way of Wall Streeting and headache, we don't create another monster. So that is where all this needs to be properly monitored.
Just for the purpose of clarity or emphasis, now, what role do you think governors should play or would play in operational control?
The operational control, the governors should relax their energy on operational control to the local government chairman. Why I say the local government chairman is that this is a local security operation. The governor only needs to be the motherboard. At their own level, all they need to get is report. But when it comes to operation, this is not a time to deal on as a political issue. People need to be properly well trained, and there must be a separate line of operation. Whoever that is to be their SA on security strategy must be people of sound mind. Retired general, retired GIG should come on board. Then all our retired military men as well should not just be put in the cooler as a forgotten tissue. There is a need to bring them and recycle them back for this kind of operation. Because maybe recently now when we had a change of guard of service chiefs, we retired over 160 generals or even more than. But where do we put those strength of ideas?
So that's not good for us as a nation.
It is not, because those trainings you've put a lot of millions to train those generals, we just go into their village and they'll be reading newspapers every morning. So this kind of operation will make them effective. Instead of you retire them, you now swap them into local security network. You engage them continuously. They will be playing pivotal role as operational commanders, as guides, because there will be room from the national. If it is not nationalized, if it is not with proper armaments, there cannot be any result. Even if they drop all the old billions and there's no proper armaments and there's no proper approval, protection to ensure that all these people, because let me tell you, even in the military, we have problem. Because this same set of military men, I was watching some documentary and I saw how soldiers who are fighting on the front of theater war are withdrawn, subject to different hellish treatments and sentenced to death because they are fighting for the nation. These are issues Mr. President must end in order to raise the morals of the military men. Those that were illegally sacked should be brought back. Those that have not been paid their emolument should be paid. Those that are currently in force, their salary should be doubled. We're not talking about adding 1,000 naira to their feeding money. Upgrade them. An average military man in the US can die for that country because he knows everything is guaranteed.
All right, then.
So these are measures we want the government to do. Increase the salary. Not to stop an average corporal or lance corporal collecting 1.5 million as salary. We have the capacity. This is not less than $1,000. So we can do it. So for me, our own commitment to government as Nigeria Coalition Group and Yoruba Council Worldwide is that the government should not sit and make this problem like a Southwest solution. No, because Southwest is the last space that these terrorists are
you talking
aiming.
about the federal government now?
Yes, for the federal government. No, but for both federal government, state and local government.
Because
like
I wanted to take you up on national security, but I just wanted you to have your final recommendations for the Southwest government.
Yes, my final recommendation is that Mr. President should sign an executive order approving this National Joint Security Network, ensuring that there is proper funding directly from CBN with proper monitoring in accordance with procedures and standards, so that then there should be proper data background check for all, even including those that are at the theater, at the civilian JTF. Let all this local security be matched together for effective policing strategy and delivery.
All right. Let's talk about national security. In the last 1 week, we've seen a lot of intensified security challenges from Kwara to Kebbi to Niger. Thankfully, the Kebbi schoolgirls are back to the state governments. The state governor, Nancy Idris, was addressing the media just a while ago, a few minutes ago before we came on air. My question is, can Nigeria secure itself?
Well, I have problem to speak for these governors and the way they've treated these terrorists with levity.
For the Southwest governors.
No. I'm speaking now as a national president of Nigeria Coalition Group.
Okay.
Because I have, as far as I am, I'm Secretary General of all ethnic nationalities in this country. So I have more impact to ensure that the way security are being treated in the northern part is more, sometimes there is more of deceit. There is more of connivance. There is more of somebody somewhere still acting as a conduit to the terrorists. And these people that act as conduit to the terrorists are in the military, are in the politics, are in the... It seems they have their network.
Yes.
So my fears are many, because if they are not there, why would somebody give an order to withdraw military men and allow terrorists? And this is not the first time. This is not the first time. This has just been the operational modus operandi. So Mr. President should see this issue beyond Kebbi State. This is more a monster. And if we need to treat it, there's a need to correct the narratives. There's a need for citizens to be supportive. My concern is that citizens' patriotism is very key now. These are not time for anybody to see Mr. President as a Yoruba man and they will now be pouring unnecessary abuses. This is not an ethnic issue, because that gun the terrorists are firing or they are kidnapping on the expressway knows no Yoruba or Hausa or an Igbo person. Any victim, I fear for the way they kill victims. So whoever that is a terrorist, and I've warned, Mr. President should stop and review this radicalization program of the military that allowed Boko Haram to be part of.
Do we need to continue
They
that?
need to remove those that were even put there. They were not supposed to be there in the first place. You don't bring in terrorists from the field of operation to repentancy, and you say without training, even those that want to join military are not allowed. I was watching one of your sister stations and they announced that over 120,000 repentant Boko Haram are already dropping arms. To what extent would that serve us? So this issue, there's nothing that should allow repentant Boko Haram into our military. So all these are areas of concern. So I believe with proper funding, with proper agenda on the table, we can achieve a whole robust plan. Let the National Assembly come on board. These are issues that all hands must be on deck.
On the part of the federal government, is there a political will to secure this nation?
Yes, there is strong political will. From when Lagbaja, the retired chief of Army staff that died, you could see from that vigor of operation. And consolidated now, you can see the way Mr. President is not resting. That shows a president that does not sleep. We've had instances whereby presidents will be traveling while we are having issues. So Mr. President stopping his trip to the G20 meeting shows commitment. The only way and the will that we all need to do as citizens is to rally around him. Give him all the necessary support. Let all governors rally around him. All local government chairmen must rally around. These are times all hands must be on deck to work.
All right, then. I mean, it's clear that the issues of safety, governance, and regional cooperation affect every resident, and this is a conversation that would continue to have and never stop until every Nigerian is safe. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. Ariel Ladoton Hazen, President, Yoruba Council Worldwide. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News.